Hi there. Let's talk about how you need to deserve and access your unfair advantage. In today's COVID economy, is what I call it, we all have to step up into our better self. And what we're going to explore today, what I'm going to give you guys some insight on today, is how to go beyond just kind of intuitive and really start adding energetic intelligence as a mission critical skill set you are going to need now and going forward. So please hang out with me if you want to learn about this, and there'll be lots of cool things. I can't wait for you to join, and I'm happy to also take questions too. So let's get started. We're all pretty much familiar with the concept that we only access 10% of our brain's full capacity. Now, whether that is actually true, it's certainly something that has been repeated over and over for nearly the past 100 years, whether it's educational gurus or new age speakers or movies or whatever the case may be. I do think there is clearly where we lack owning our mind's full capacity. And that's what energetic intelligence can help you start to access. Energetic intelligence, it goes beyond just kind of intuition or a gut feeling. Those are powerful and important, but this is about taking a level of accessing what I call, now here's the big promise, here's the big juicy bit. Energetic intelligence is like accessing a master key to unlocking your other capacities, your other intelligences, whether it's a kinesthetic, like a body level intelligence, or maybe it's a spatial intelligence, like you can see things in 3D, or an artistic intelligence, emotional intelligence, etc. We all have certain levels of superpowers, right? But there's, how do we own it? Or do we? And that's what I'm going to be exploring today, about not only energetic intelligence, but also how do you own it? How do you access your quote unquote unfair advantage? So let's kind of get into a little bit more about these multiple levels of intelligence. So let's see here. I've got lots of notes. Let me check. So I guess I should explain who I am. I'm Trella Davis, if you don't know already, and I am a master and teacher of energy use, energy work, intuitive healing, and I also happen to be a pretty great transformational coach and leadership marketing strategist. So I have literally worked with, thousands of people across the globe. And I've also worked on myself. I'm the biggest guinea pig of my life, that's for sure. And it has been fascinating what has been uncovering and understanding what is energetic intelligence and the power that it can play. Hi Gwen, thanks for hanging out. The power that it can play in being like a master key to unlock your own already potentials, as well as unlocking other aspects of intelligence that you have. And the beauty of getting to start accessing and playing with energetic intelligence, it's like Tony Robbins says, you find that expert and you turn decades of work into days of progress, right? So high performing individuals are already accessing their unfair advantages, their strengths, their special super capabilities, their superpowers, and how consciously or unconsciously they're accessing it depends. But when you look at a group of people, they fall into three buckets when it comes to accessing their superpowers. You have the people who notice it, they know it, they kind of know, hey, this is a given for me, but I probably shouldn't. They don't receive themselves well. They don't own it, is what I like to say. And then you have another group that aren't really aware of what their superpowers are. They haven't had that hello yet, whether from themselves or others or both. And maybe it could be life experience or just lack of permission, all kinds of stuff. And then you have a third group that kind of falls into a spectrum of how they own it. Some own it and they're like, that's right, I must be better than all of you, blah, 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 blah. And, you know, enlightened today and asshole tomorrow, I like to say. And then you have some that really, like, they own it and they are just like, wow, gratitude, great, I'm going to own this and I'm going to run with it. So there is definitely interesting on how people own this or don't own this. And what I'm going to be talking to you about is how do you start stepping into owning it, whether you feel like you're clueless, don't have any idea of what your superpowers are, kind of do, but don't feel deserving, don't feel the permission, don't feel the okay to do so. And then finally, we'll talk about how there's the high performers who are owning it, either from a place of integrity and gratitude or from a place of, you know, elitism. Any of those categories, you know, it's interesting. And I can definitely tell you what I see is what helps to activate this ability. So one of the reasons why we have to start using this ability is because the time of, certainly if you live in the United States or any of the Western countries where, you know, we have an overabundance, especially in the United States, there's a certain amount of luxury that we have for limiting ourselves, for having fear, insecurity, you know, depression, anxiety. And I don't want to make light of those things because I know what it's like to struggle with those deeply. I do. I suffered with severe depression and anxiety from the time I was a little kid, and, you know, never had support with that until I took ownership of it. But the reality is the amount of bandwidth that and resources it takes to be limited, to not own your full self, is crushing, not only to your own life, but to your family's life, to the lives that you touch, and to our society as a whole. So many people in the United States, they struggle with every imaginable limitation. And, you know, we see that through opioid addiction. We see that through poor health. We see that through people who should really have the respect they deserve, and for whatever reason they don't. So their educational opportunities, their job opportunities, everything is constantly limited, either by those directly around them or the way our political system has evolved to. And it's unfortunate. But whatever the backstory is, it's kind of like we're at this point with COVID where it doesn't matter anymore. Unemployment in the United States, it's already at 20%, set to grow more. And the global challenge that we face individually as well as collectively is huge. Climate crisis, economic crisis, personal crisis, it's all real. It's all in our faces. There's no amount of soda. There's no amount of cookies. There's no amount of movies and all the other distractions. We can't hide from it anymore. And this challenge means it's time that we all access our full capacity, whether you want to call that sixth sense, doesn't matter. It's about being that full self from the subconscious up, really getting in there, really understanding it. Because whatever job you do, or whatever you want to do means now we're at a time where you have to up your game immensely. Maybe you are in customer service or client service. Maybe you are in like real estate or somebody who works for themselves, like a coach or whatever. Maybe you're an educator. It doesn't matter what you are. Certainly, if you're in the healing arts, medical arts in any way, you have got to up your game emotionally and energetically. And when you start to access this kind of intelligence, this kind of power, it really is something that you do have the ability to access. We're all kind of factory installed with it. We just don't know. We either got talked out of it, we either got brainwashed out of it, we either got medicated out of it. There are a lot of reasons why we don't access it. But we all need it now so we can live more efficiently, more effectively, and more powerfully with less resource, less time, and less money. So getting a lot more out of our life with a lot less input. So let's talk about some differences I see between people who are owning their unfair advantage. So I've had a lot of amazing clients who, you know, working with them and myself has just taught me so much. And there's really, at first step, one thing that you have to have. You have to be able to name your unfair advantage if you're going to own it. You got to name it. And I teach and help people really to name, identify, and own their special superpower. But at a crux, you've got to be able to name it to own it. And let me give you an example. How do you receive a compliment? You know, as women, we tend to be conditioned to shrug off validation and adopt or accept invalidation. Not all women, just, you know, but it is historically the case. So if somebody comes up and says, man, you know, you're really great public speaker, or you're really great with how you can communicate, for example, and you're like, oh, well, you know, da da da. Maybe it seems something that's just natural to you or easy to you, or maybe it's embarrassing to you because it's something that is innate to you, or you're particularly good at it and you notice that others aren't, and maybe you feel bad about that. So really, you have to start to connect in what particular topic, what particular aspect that you have that you can start tapping into as a strength consciously, and getting under it and owning it from a really deep subconscious level. So take a moment and think, what's like a superpower you have? Just one, and it doesn't need to be unique in the world. It just needs to be one of your superpowers. Like, what's your superpower? So notice what your superpower is. Notice whatever came up and start to say hello to that. Like, hey, that's mine. I want you to consider that, just writing that down or owning it and letting yourself be complimented by it and letting yourself start to share it and live by it is a great way to validate the gift you've been given. So some people know what their superpower is and they really shy away from it, but it's really, your superpower has been given to you for a good reason. So instead of thinking you're better than others, or that you're worse because how dare you own this and make others feel bad. I mean, I've literally had people that are good friends tell me, quote unquote, I hate you because XXY. How dare you step into da-da-da-da that I've been working on for the past 10 years, and you just walk in and do, and you're instantly doing it, you know. So I get being insecure or shy about kind of owning certain natural abilities. So let's talk about what kind of people that I have seen. And I have clients that fall into two categories. One, I call them the light switch, and the other, I call them the flower unfolder. Now, with the light switch folks, literally 1 or 2 sessions, literally, bam, they're off and running. We have literally activated a particular aspect, whether it was a challenge or a goal, and they took it and ran with it. Let me tell you, it is it's not a great business model for me if you can just solve somebody's problem instantly, and you're just, you know, depending on how I'm charging, right? So no, it was just amazing. And then some people, they would unfold like a flower. You know, it would be a process, and either way is okay. And the difference between whether somebody could just be like a light switch and somebody would need a process to unfold is how well they could receive. And so that's another thing I know a lot about is, you know, struggling with receiving. And so it's made me an expert. So wherever you fall on that spectrum of, you know, being a good receiver and just being able to run with something, or needing a process there, needing support there, I got you covered. I do. So let's talk about somebody who's owning their unfair advantage, and they're doing so from a place of like integrity, like, okay, this is my unfair advantage, this is my special skill or skills, this is my superpower. I'm not going to shy away from it. I'm going to revel in it, and I'm not going to worry about if I ruffle feathers, because I have an ability that maybe others don't. You go from a place of not being aware of your ability to really owning your ability, and owning it in a way with like positive integrity. You can go from selling yourself to sharing yourself, which is powerful. And when you can show and share yourself, now you're relatable. Now you can connect with people, and now you make them feel like, she's using her superpower for me, or I get to access her superpower. You know, nobody's like pissed off at Superman. I'm sure there's somebody, you know, just give them a YouTube or a Twitter account. Somebody's going to be bitching. But generally speaking, I want you to think about, how is it that you can let yourself start to own your superpower? And I would really like to invite you to a couple of things. One, I'm doing a special speech on this topic for a nonprofit group that helps women and teens in different areas around the world that are economically challenged. And we've got a speech coming up soon where there are a lot of great speakers, and it's donation only if you want to attend. If you don't have money, no worries. If you do, you know, it's like $10 or something, and it's online, so it's really fascinating. There's going to be a lot of great topics, but I will be talking more in depth about energetic intelligence and how to access that as well. Contact me if this is something that you were like, hey, I have to be more, add more value, faster, more effectively, more clearly, because that is what is going to start making the difference between surviving and thriving. You know, the efficiency at which we need to all perform we've got to up our game. So if you want to have somebody amazing in your back pocket, contact me. So I'd love to see about us working together. And you can always check out my YouTube channel, Trella Davis, where I do have a few fun tools that you can start learning in the videos presented there. So anyway, thanks for hanging out. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to take them. Let's see here. All right. So learning energetic intelligence is not rocket science. No calculus needed. What I've done is I've taken what is really considered ancient technology and cultivated it, curated it, and also created some of my own to make it where I don't care if you're ADHD, it's going to be a bit like playing a video game. Everything is set up so you can win. Things are in steps, but you have your own experience. You get to own it for yourself. Because we're not all cookie cutter. You know, one recipe doesn't, bam, you know, make a cookie that we all like, right? I give you the understanding of what a good recipe is. Teach you how to use it, and then teach you how to own it so you can run with it. Not everybody has a graduation aspect to what they share and what they teach, but it's baked in literally with how I work. So anyway, thanks for the great question, and I look forward to having you join again. I'm going to be doing these regularly around noon Pacific time, and have a great, blessed day. Again, if you're interested in learning more, go to Trella Davis at YouTube. Take care. Bye.